Hello, here we are at Hollywood in Mongolia, and right next to me is the famous cinematographer or a director of photography who has photographed Marco Polo, Crazy Rich Asians, and his name is Venja Cernjul. So, welcome and welcome to Mongolia.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. It was always high on my list. It's my first time in Mongolia, but I always wanted to come here and see the country. When I was working on Marco Polo, I read a lot about Mongolian history and learned fascinating how many original concepts come from this country. So I was always fascinated by the history and always wanted to be here, and I'm really glad I was invited.
Is it any different than your expectation?
Well, I just arrived last night, so I haven't really had a chance to look around. But everybody I met has been really great, and it's just a great experience.
Mm-hmm. So I want to go into your profession. Mm-hmm. How did you start your profession?
Right. Well, when I was very young, I was in elementary school in Zagreb, Croatia. I come from Croatia. I was born and raised there. I fell in love with still photography when I was very young, and when I finished high school, when I had to go to the university, I found out that there was no school for still photography, but there was a film academy, and I saw that there was a camera department, and I didn't know anything about cinematography really. I was a kid. I was 17 years old. And I thought, well, that's maybe close enough. So I applied for film school, and I somehow miraculously got in based on my photographs that I was taking before.
Sorry to interrupt, but just curious, what was the first device you used to take photographs?
The first device my mom bought me when I was probably 9 years old, a Russian two-eyed camera, Lubitel. Which she bought. I don't know where. I wish I could find that camera now. I know because it was very like ancient looking camera. But immediately, as I started looking through the viewfinder, there was just something that drew me to photography like immediately. And but in film school, I discovered that cinematography is really everything I loved about photography. But there's more because you're working with a team of people, and it's all about collaboration, and I just love the process. And at film school I decided that this is definitely what I wanted to do. I was when I graduated from film school in what was then Yugoslavia, my country fell apart, and it went through a terrible period, and there was really no opportunities to keep developing as a cinematographer. So after 5 years, I knew that I would either have to do something else or go somewhere else, and so I decided to move to New York, back to film school because I didn't know anybody there, and then I met a lot of great people there and I just started working with them. So.
Yeah, you went to school in New York.
Yes, I went back to school because I didn't know anybody in New York, and I thought it was the fastest way to meet people and just get into the industry.
Mm-hmm. How did you manage to network and go into the Hollywood industry?
Well, that's what film school provided for me. It provided a network of people who were just starting up, and I met a lot of people quickly. At that film school, almost everybody wanted to direct and produce, and I was one of the very few people who knew I wanted to be a cinematographer. So I was fortunate enough that I could pick projects with the most talented people of my generation, and I was fortunate that I just started working as soon as I finished film school. I also loved New York. I loved my life in New York, and I decided to stay.
Mm-hmm. So going specifically into your direct role, what exactly do you do at a scene in a movie?
Well,
Walk me through the process.
Right. Cinematographer is somebody who is working with the director to unify all the visual elements and all the photographic elements of the project, and make them serve the drama, serve the story. One of the main thing that I do is I control the framing and also lighting, but also collaborate with the production designer about sets and colors and how the sets are built so that it works. And I work closely with all the other artists who are doing something that affects the image. But mostly it's the process with the director where everything comes together. And that's the part of the process that I like the most, is the pre-production with the director.
On average, how many people in your team?
Well, as a cinematographer, I directly hire and work with the lighting department, grip department, and the camera department. And so those three departments, depending on the size of the film, it could be anywhere from 30 to 50 people. On a smaller movie, there could be only 3 people in the camera department. On a project like Marco Polo, we had 6 full units. So the camera department, 60 people, I would say. So, yeah.
You worked on Marco Polo, and there was a Mongolian actress.
Right.
Have you had a chance to interact and get to know each other?
Yes, absolutely. I met Bella there, Bella at Marco Polo, and she invited me here. She brought me here. She's the reason I'm here. It was the wonderful thing about that project is that we shot mostly in Malaysia, and we had to find a crew because it was a huge crew, something like 700 people. So we brought people from all over the world. There was something like 26 or 27 different nations that had to work together on this. We had the camera operator from France, a gaffer from a person who is in charge of lighting from New Zealand, Thai electricians. It was
a lot of translators, I bet.
A lot of translators, yes, and it was just. That's one of the great. It's a great side of what we do in film, is just meeting a lot of people from all over the world and forming really strong relationships. So when Byra invited me here, I saw on the list of guests, of special guests, 4 people that I knew from. So it was, some of them I met on Marco Polo. So it's like a little bit of a reunion also. We're going to have a great time.
You'll be traveling to the countryside. Correct?
Yes. Yeah.
With the whole team.
Yes. Yeah.
What are you most looking forward to?
Well, just first to experience the landscape and the culture as much as possible. I'm going to, tomorrow morning I'm going to go to Archaeological Museum, and I'm just really excited to see in person, to see the landscape and the people and the culture that I read about it so much when I was prepping Marco Polo. And hopefully I'll be back many times.
I hope so too. Well, thank you for coming today. And
thank you.
I hope you have a great time at the countryside. And thank you.
Thank you.